Our very first story, former Deputy Attorney General and MP for Bolgatanga East Dominic Ayene has filed a suit at the Supreme Court challenging the appointment of Martin Amidu as special prosecutor. The MP in the writ argues that at 66 years, Martin Amidu is past the statutory age of employment to public office. Coming less than 24 hours to the vetting of Mr. Amidu, the suit could potentially scuttle the process. We'll be telling you what we know from Parliament about the vetting, but let's first look at the declarations being sought by the plaintiff. All right, so we will bring you the declarations in a bit, but in the event let's just look at what the Constitution says about this particular suit. It says retiring age and pension. 1. A public officer shall, except as otherwise provided in this Constitution, retire from the public service on attaining the age of 60 years. And then it says, notwithstanding clause 1 of this article, a public officer who is retired from the public service after attaining the age of 60 years may, where the exigencies of the service require, be engaged for a limited period of not more than 2 years at a time, but not exceeding 5 years in all, and upon such other terms and conditions as the appointing authority shall determine. And this is what the Constitution says about the. So let's go back to the writ as we have it for what's the declarations that Dominic Ayene is seeking. So it says a declaration that by a true and proper interpretation of articles, so this is the B, a declaration that by a true and proper interpretation of articles 190 and 194 of the 1992 Constitution, no person above the age of 65 years is eligible for employment in any public office created under Article 190. And then a declaration that by reason of his age, 66 years, Mr. Martin Alamisi Burns Kaiser Amidu is not qualified or eligible to be nominated as a special prosecutor under Section 13, subsection 3 of the Office of the Special Prosecutor Act 2018, Act 5959. Now, D, a declaration that by reason of his age, again 60 years, Mr. Martin Alamisu Burns Kaiser Amidu is not qualified or eligible to be approved by Parliament as a special prosecutor under Section 13, subsection 3 of the Office of the Special Prosecutor Act 2018. And then E, a declaration that by reason of his age, 66 years, Mr. Martin Alamisi Burns Kaiser Amidu is not qualified or eligible to be appointed by His Excellency the President of the Republic as the special prosecutor. All right, so this is what we have as the reliefs being sought by, or declarations being sought by the former Deputy Attorney General and MP for Bolgatanga East. Now, there's also a declaration of EF, there's a declaration that any purported nomination by the Attorney General or approval by Parliament or appointment by His Excellency the President of the Republic of Martin Alamisu Burns Kaiser Amidu as a special prosecutor under Sections 13, Section 3 of the Office of the Special Prosecutor Act 2018 is unconstitutional and therefore null and void. So, we're joined now on the phone lines now by Dr. Abdul Basit Bamba. He's a constitutional lawyer and he's going to be giving us some insight as to what this actually means. Thank you for making time to join us, Doc. Now, what do you make of the declarations being sought by the former Deputy Attorney General?
Good evening to you and good evening to your cherished listeners. In very simple terms, what the plaintiff, Dr. Dominic Ayene, is seeking the Supreme Court to declare is essentially that Honorable Martin Amidu is not qualified to be appointed a special prosecutor by reason of an age limitation. And I need to throw a bit more light, perhaps to appreciate the context of this declaration. You know, by our constitutional design, every public officer who is a member of the Public Services of Ghana has to retire at age 60. Now, in 1996, there was a constitutional amendment that made it possible for the person to serve for periods of up to 5 years. Once the person has reached 60 years and has done additional 5 years, that ends it. The person cannot continue to serve in the public service. There are exceptions to this rule. These exceptions apply to members of the judiciary, particularly largely the Supreme Court, the High Court, and Court of Appeal judges.
Would you see the Office of the Special Prosecutor and, for that matter, Mr. Martin Amidu's appointment as one of those?
No, there is no doubt about the fact that the Office of the Special Prosecutor is part of the Public Services of Ghana. You know, when you look at Article 190 and 191, the Public Services of Ghana have been provided for. And when you look at the Office of the Special Prosecutors Act, there is no doubt at all that that office has been created as part of the Public Service of Ghana. By reason of that, the compulsory eligibility rules relating to public officers will apply to the special prosecutor.
All right, but what I was seeking to find out, you mentioned that the exceptions when it comes to the judiciary. Would you classify or categorize his appointment as being part of the judiciary?
No, absolutely not. There has been an attempt in the Act, also the Special Prosecutors Act, to link the terms and conditions of service to that of a Court of Appeal judge. On the face of it, it may be argued that because Court of Appeal judges retire at age 70, that applies to him. But our Supreme Court has declared quite clearly that that is not the case. In 2010, there was a similar case regarding the Auditor General, in which the Supreme Court made it clear that even though the Auditor General has the same terms and conditions of service as the Court of Appeal judge, his retirement age remains 60 and not 70 as applies to Court of Appeal judges. So the same argument should apply to the occupant of the Office of the Special Prosecutor. There is no exception created for him by the Constitution, and the person on the face of it appears to me should be working with a 60-year age requirement and not 70 as required for Court of Appeal judges.
Dr. Bamba, one other argument that is being made is that, yes, the Constitution allows that the person could be employed after attaining the age of 60 years. The person could be employed for between 2 and 5 years. So could it be that irrespective of when you retire or you reach the retirement age, you could still be giving that appointment? So yes, he's reached the appointment age, that retirement age of 60. He's 66. He is now being given the appointment which he could hold for up to 5 years.
From my understanding of the constitutional framework for appointment into the public service, that is not possible. What the Constitution requires for members of the public service is they retire at age 60, and then if there is a need for them to be retained in office, they do 2 years, a maximum 5 years, so a maximum of 65 years. In this particular case, the difficulty is, and if you want to look at this in a very positive light, he's 66 years of age. And the Constitution is very, very clear that you can't go beyond 65, even in the event there's an extension.
All right.
Of your...
But is the Constitution saying that you can't go beyond 65, or the Constitution is saying that you can't go beyond 5 years, a 5-year appointment after you reach the retirement age? We could mean that, then the question is, do we count the 5 from when you reach 60, or from when you are appointed after 60?
No, the Constitution is very, very clear on this. There is no ambiguity about the constitutional provision. When you reach 60 as a public officer in the public service, you must go on compulsory retirement. If there is the need for you to be retained, then you go for 2 years, a year, 2 years, maximum 5 years, 65. there is no issue about you, let's say, being 65 and being given another 5 years to work in the public service. That is not the understanding that I have of the constitutional provision, and I think the provision is clear enough. It doesn't make room for any such interpretation.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Bamba. He's the constitutional, bringing us some insight as to what exactly the Constitution is saying as far as this is concerned. But indeed, it is going to be determined by the Supreme Court. Well, Mr. Martin Amidu's woes are not over, as another petition has come against his nomination, this time from a member of the NDC legal team, Chris Akume. JoyNews has learned Mr. Akume has submitted a petition to the Appointments Committee against Mr. Amidu's candidature. According to JoyNews' sources at the committee, Mr. Akume argues that, one, the term of office for the special prosecutor is 7 years maximum, and it's akin to the position of an appeals court judge, for which the retirement age is 70 years. Mr. Akume argues Mr. Martin Amidu's age of 66 years means he will not be in the position to serve the mandatory 7 years, as he would have attained 70 years in 4 years, 3 years shy of the end of his mandatory term. Now, two, his political membership. The special prosecutor nominee is a member of the National Democratic Congress, having been a former Attorney General under the late President Tata Mills. But according to the petition, Mr. Akume says information available to him indicates Mr. Amidu has applied for membership of the governing New Patriotic Party. Now, this we are not able to confirm. This is what is contained in the petition. This, he believes, flies in the face of the position, which is a non-partisan one. On that basis, he believes Martin Amidu is not qualified for the job. Our sources 3 tell us Mr. Akume raised concerns about Mr. Martin Amidu's demeanor. According to him, Mr. Amidu has on several occasions displayed vindictiveness, a characteristic which is unbecoming of someone of that high office. Now, Martin Amidu, the special prosecutor nominee, meanwhile, says he's run out of invitation cards for well-wishers and members of the general public wishing to witness his vetting. In a short notice on his website, he told friends and well-wishers inundating him with calls to be at his vetting on Tuesday that only a limited number of people can be admitted at the public hearing, and that he's already giving out the invitation cards he has to those who have called already, whether or not he knew them personally. He also cautioned that those who got the invites, that the drummers and dancers are prohibited from entering the venue for the public hearing. In the notice, Mr. Amidu also acknowledged the outpouring of support for the president's nomination, quotes, the president's nomination of my humble self as a special prosecutor, and that he knows that if the president's wishes were put to a national referendum, all the 275 constituencies of the country will return an overwhelmingly positive endorsement for his choice. He however stressed that he had nothing to win or lose, whatever the results of the vetting would be. Now, staying with issues having to do with the special prosecutor nominee, acting chairman of the governing New Patriotic Party, Freddie Blay, has rubbished claims by the opposition NDC that Martin Amidu would use the office of special prosecutor to witch-hunt ex-government officials under the erstwhile John Mahama administration. The opposition NDC in recent past have questioned the neutrality of Mr. Amidu, saying he is prejudiced against the party, judging from his pronouncements in recent past. Freddie Blay, in an exclusive interview with my colleague Kwesi Parker Wilson, expressed confidence in the anti-corruption campaigner's ability to discharge his duties professionally.
We carefully chose Martin Amidu, not so much because of his even partisan or political affiliation, but for his proven record as not a citizen vigilante, but as a competent lawyer. His work is a man of integrity and extremely objective in whatever he is doing. So we've put it before court, before Parliament. We will expect for Parliament to decide.
So what are you expecting from Parliament tomorrow? I mean, he'll be vetted tomorrow.
We leave it to Parliament. We hope that Parliament will endorse him and let him be a representative, let him be somebody who is prosecuting for and on behalf of the state. We all have confidence in. That's all.
So you have the conviction that Martin Amidu will go through and then he'll become the best special prosecutor as you desire the party?
We want him to be. This is our expectation. This is our hope. It's that Parliament will endorse him, strengthen his hand, and let him also do his work as a very objective prosecutor. Look at people for what they are and not what he thinks they are.
So you think that he won't use this office as a political witch hunting against his former party?
How can he do that? We rather who are in the MPP could even say that the man will use the position to witch hunters do things against our party. But far from that, we are hoping everything will be okay, and we are confident as an individual, very objective individual, he will do what is expected.
You know, I raised the concern because they say that the MPP just want him to do your hearted job. That's why the president and the party appointed him.
I think it's wrong, and you can ignore that. Those who will say so,
you disagree.
They have no good reason to say so.
So you disagree with that assertion?
Oh, I've dismissed it. Not that I disagree. I think you can ignore it.
All right. So as we have it, is the vetting of Martin Amidu as special prosecutor going to come on tomorrow at Parliament House? As far as we're concerned, the appointment committee is indicating that they haven't received the suit filed by Dominic Ayine, the former Deputy Attorney General, and that as far as they're concerned, they're going ahead with the vetting. If we have any contrary information, we will share that with you. But as we speak now, they say that they're going ahead with the vetting of Martin Amidu as special prosecutor, and that vetting will be live here on JoyNews on Multi TV. Still to come on JoyNews Prime. First set of ministers appear before President Akufo-Addo for appraisal with implications for their jobs. And utility providers present their proposals for increases in tariffs. It comes more than a week after a reduction announced by President Akufo-Addo was to have taken effect.
As from January this year, the non-residential tariff rate, which is the rate that includes all of you here, is being reduced by 14%.
We have all that and more coming up in the bulletin station. Welcome back to JoyNews Prime. Now, President Akufo-Addo's push to have a 14% reduction in utility tariffs has suffered a setback, even though the possibility of a reduction relies heavily on how much the power companies require to be able to balance their books. There's no sign of the reduction so far. Power distributors, ECG, NEDCO, and the Enclave Power are all making demands for increases in their tariffs. Here's what the President said in January about an impending reduction in electricity tariffs.
Not only are we normalizing the power situation in the country, we now want to boost private business. So as from January this year, the non-residential tariff rate, which is the rate that includes all of you here, is being reduced by 14%. For barbers, by 18%. For hairdressers and beauticians, 15.7%. And for tailors, 9.8%. On the average, 14% reduction in tariff rate.
All right, so the various utility companies have been presenting their proposals at a consultative forum organized by the PRC ahead of the next major utility tariff review. NEDCO wants a distribution service charge currently being used, that's 0.22 pesos per kilowatt hour, to 0.6755 pesos per kilowatt hour, which some experts are pegging at 200%. Now, NEDCO wants to take up renewable energy technologies and also deal with hostile communities whose bills they sometimes struggle to retrieve. Here's Maxwell Kotoka, Corporate Affairs Director of NEDCO, who has been justifying why their request.
Currently, the DSC, the distribution service charge, is at 0.22 Ghana cedis, and we are asking for 0.67 0.22 to 0.67. Yeah.
Okay, and this increases, you reckon, will help you address all the challenges that you face as a distribution company?
Basically, yes. But let me be quick to explain that is the 0.67 we need to cover our costs and to invest in the network so as to make it sustainable, so as to deliver reliable power to our consumers. How the PURC gets the 0.67 to us is entirely their responsibility. We don't seek to say that we have asked for 0.67 and so we should get 0.67 from source A or source B.
Now, I overheard in the presentation that there are not many commercial consumers for your distribution company, and for which reason sometimes you do not generate enough. And for the individual consumers also, it looks like they are very hostile consumers. How do you look to, reconcile these in the amount of revenue that is due you?
Well, I think I should be quick to explain, to jump to the defense of our consumers or our customers. It is not all of them who are hostile. There are pockets of hostility recorded at various locations. I would concede, but it's not to say that they are all like that. We have very decent, law-abiding, and very cooperative. The area has its own nuances that are significantly different from other distributors within the country. Like you may have noticed in the presentation, consumers are very sparsely located, and so even though we cover about 2/3 of the land mass of the country, ECG takes care of about 73% of consumers. So it means that they have a smaller land mass, but they are more concentrated and dense. The other side of it is that the tariff structure as it stands now is heavily hinged on cross-subsidization, where the industrial consumers cross-subsidize the domestic consumers. But unfortunately for us, 80% plus of our consumers are domestic. And so ab initio, we are lost on that principle.
Now, recent power cuts in parts of the northern region, NEDCO says it is working to resolve the challenges by close of day. The company has also been piling up load shedding claims.
For the umpteenth time, we want to use the occasion to apologize to our customers and to explain that the inconvenience caused is deeply regretted, but we do not intend to take them through any of those. Apparently, we are overcoming the difficulties. There were two critical challenges. They had to do firstly with the load on the cables and then the load on the two main transformers. As we speak now, we have replaced the cables, and so we are quite confident that the cables will not be a problem again, at least not in the immediate foreseeable future, because we have enough redundancies on the cables as they are. The other leg of the problem, as I indicated earlier, is with the balancing on the transformers, the balancing of the load on the transformers. We have requested to take out power this late afternoon, and we intend to do that balancing too. Having completed these two by close of day today, we'll monitor the situation today and tomorrow, and I am sure that by Wednesday we should be in a very good position to say that the problems are behind us. Having said that, I should be quick to say that all these are still temporary measures, and so they may come with their own challenges as and when we go along. We appeal to the public to exercise restraint and bear with us as we tackle them. We assure them that we will do everything it takes to ensure that the interruptions are as limited as possible.
There are those who believe that there's a deliberate attempt to shed load, but someone is not telling us.
But as far as NEDCO is concerned, and I speak as a mouthpiece of NEDCO, as far as NEDCO is concerned, we don't have any shortfall with generation. There is no shortfall in generation. We have had problems with the cables and the transformer as a spillover from the fires of November 2017, which every Ghanaian or every resident of Ghana is aware of. This is a spillover of that. When we fixed that problem in November, we were quick to advise that whatever we had put in place were temporary measures, and they. All
right, so let's just take another look at the tariffs that the utility companies are proposing that they would want the PRC to approve for them once again. So we have the ECG making a presentation, we have NEDCO also making a presentation, and then we also have GRADECO making a presentation. So for GRADECO says it wants 5.0 pesos per kilowatt hour, and it wants 6.58 pesos per kilowatt hour, up from 5.04 pesos. Now, the Northern Electricity Distribution Company says it wants 0.22 pesos per kilowatt hour, and this to go to, it wants it to go to 0.6755. Well, the Electricity Company of Ghana also says it wants 22 pesos per kilowatt hour, and it wants it to go up by, it wants it to go up to 36 pesos per kilowatt hour. But all of these are on what the VRA, or the Volunteer Authority, is going to charge per its kilowatt hour. So these are all top-ups on what VRA is going to charge. Now, Minority Spokesperson on Energy, Adam Mutawakilu, says government has the tendency to want to. So let's go to Minority Spokesperson Energy, Adam Mutawakilu, saying the government has a tendency to manipulate the Public Utilities and Regulatory Commission into reducing tariffs, irrespective of the consequences. President Akufo-Addo, as we indicated earlier, announced a possible 14% decrease in electricity tariffs, but the PRC says proposals from major stakeholders being compiled will determine the next tariff adjustment. Speaking on the polls earlier, Adam Mutawakilu said the relationship between the PRC and government requires an urgent watchdog.
The question I have is in respect to the transmission and distribution. Now, if I have information in respect to generation, then I have complete information. Then I can do my independent assessment and see, oh, at the end of the day, all of them are pointing upwards. If it is so, then I'll look at government proposal. So we'll be requesting them to give us government proposal. Then we input it in, and at the end of the day, we'll be able to assess the activities, what is happening. That is of a worry. I know they are very reputable people in PURC. Most of the board members have worked with them, and I know their reputation. I know it.
But you keep saying there's something that's of a worry. To what extent should we be worried?
What we are worried about is when government now put pressure on those people. So that's why we want them to be independent. See, when the pressure is coming, they cannot talk. We are those to talk for them and ensure that government stay off. They are people of good image, very, very good image. And as I indicated, I've worked with most of them, especially the board members.
We're taking a break to bring you business news, but still ahead in the bulletin. Ashanti Region Police is promising to deal with officers found to have acted unprofessionally in the deaths of 3 protesters at Fuase. Stay tuned. We will be back.
Up to about 5. Hello again. Good evening to you. Time now for business. Now, President Akufo-Addo has named international economic and financial lawyer Elsie Awaji as the second deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana. The announcement of Mrs. Awaji's appointment was made on the president's Facebook today after thorough consultations with the Council of State. Mrs. Awaji has more than 21 years of experience in financial regulation.
Madame Awaji takes over from Dr. Johnson Isiama, who recently resigned due to personal reasons. The announcement was said to have been made on the president's Facebook post on Monday after thorough consultations with the Council of State. She has 21 years of professional experience working in various capacities in Ghana and internationally. Her key areas of specialization are financial sector development and regulation, financial stability assessments, design of crisis management frameworks, and financial safety. Prior to her appointment, Mrs. Awaji was a senior counsel at the International Monetary Fund's Legal Department, Financial and Fiscal Law Unit, with experience working in countries such as Japan, South Africa, and United Kingdom. She has advised many countries across the world on matters related to financial regulation, IMF surveillance, lending, and technical assistance activities. She holds an LLM degree, International Business and Economic Law, with distinction from the Georgetown University Law Center, an MBA Finance from the University of Ghana, and an LLB degree from the same university.
The much talked about one-stop shop for business registration has finally taken off, but with some initial challenges under the system. The Social Security and National Insurance Trust, SNIT, the Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, and the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, AMA, all have various units at the Registrar General's Department to quicken the business registration process. Sheila Tamaklo was at the department and has more.
Today at the Registrar General's Department, 2 new technologies have been introduced. First, there's the electronic queue management system and also the one-stop shop for registering business. Now, the electronic queue management system is just at the entrance, which is to help improve, customer service here. That is, customers no longer have to wait in long queues before getting to transact their business here. Now, for the one-stop shop, if you look to my left, this is a GRA office, and what this place stands for is that you can get your tax identification number here instantly for you to be able to register your business. Likewise, to my right, you have a SNIT booth where you can get your social security number here also to help you register your business. Basically, when you get here to register your business, this is supposed to help you register a business in 24 hours. With the introduction of the one-stop shop for registering businesses, clients are first issued with tickets upon entry into the Registrar General's Department. This is under the electronic queue management system, which assigns the client to a booth for assistance. Joy Business caught up with some individuals who were there to register their businesses.
I just started with a sole proprietorship, and I just finished up with the process. So I'm now about to go through the TIN process for them to generate that for me.
Okay, so now you come in here today realizing that you don't have to go to another office like the GRA and the SNIT to get those numbers. You can get all here. For you, what does that mean?
Yeah, I think it really facilitates everything for me, because before I got here, it was a whole headache. I was now thinking about how am I going to finish here, what time am I going to be able to finish up here and go to the GRA office and all that. But once I got here, they told me that I can generate the TIN here, and I think it just makes life easy.
The new system is okay. You don't have to join long queues, and then mobile. It has removed the instances whereby you have to go through the see people like the Goro boys and other things. They've omitted those people, and then mobile. It creates a more convenient way of doing registration without wasting much time. So it also saves time for us to go and do our businesses.
So another thing that has been introduced, like I said too, is the fact that you can register everything here. Now you can get your TIN number here and your SNIT number here. For you going through the process, how was this for you?
Yeah, it was a great feeling for me because I came in without having anything, but as I live here, I have my SNIT number and then my TIN number as well, so it's a good thing.
The Director General of the Registrar General's Department, Jemima Owari, says the new system will boost Ghana's ranking on the Ease of Doing Business Index.
If you look at the Doing Business report, the ranking of Ghana was quite low. And one of the issues was the various institutions that have to give you a permit or a certificate or a license to get you started in Ghana. We realized that with GRA, we're already on the same platform, because GRA that gives you the tax identification number, which is a necessary number you should have before your business can even be registered. So electronically, we are linked with GRA, and then physically, their presence is also here for them to give you a tax identification number. We had to bring on SNIT and also AMA. For instance, in the Doing Business ranking, it will take you about 2 days to register a business, but AMA will take about 7 days. So if we are able to bring AMA on our premises, they will deliver the service that would have been delivered in 2 days, because they'll go to AMA, it'll take another 7 days, then it becomes 9. So that, of course, will bring our ranking down. In time, we're going to bring this GIPC, because that's another place you need to go to get a license, or they will use our documents to give you the document you need to be registered with them to get an automatic quota, which will enable you to stay in Ghana and do business. So this is the whole concept of it. We are going to use one cage to deliver all these services.
However, the process began experiencing some challenges as part of the system went blank. Jemima Owari assures plans are underway to have the system fixed soon. The introduction of the one-stop shop and electronic queue management system is currently being piloted for 3 months from now until April to allow key stakeholders address any challenges that may arise.
And away from that, government has decided to upgrade all hydro dams in the country to take on facilities for additional power generation. The hybrid projects would result in the construction of solar panels on the water surface of existing hydro dams like Akosombo and Bui. The Ministry of Energy and International Energy Firm, ENI, have signed an MOU to begin the construction of these panels. Energy Minister Boakye Jaku, who signed on behalf of government, explains the rationale behind the project.
Renewable sources into the national grid has received a boost with the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding, MOU. The hybrid project will result in the construction of solar panels on the water surface of the Akosombo and Bui hydro dams. This project, when completed, will ensure that Ghana utilizes its natural energy resources economically. Boakye Jaku is the Minister of Energy.
The idea, therefore, is to make sure that every single dam built and yet to be built would have a solar component, so that we run solar either with storage or without storage during the day and run hydro at night.
And that's all in business tonight. Thank you so much for watching. For more business news, log on to myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji Riafe. There's more news ahead. Don't go away.
Now, the Ashanti Region Police Command says it will severely deal with personnel who were found to have acted unprofessionally in the Fuase shooting last weekend. 3 people died after police fired at protesters agitating over the relocation of the capital of the Ekwima Kwamuma district from Fuase to Twede. My colleague Oheming Terry has been following up on the story and our reports.
Several bullet marks, up to about 5 feet high, are visible on walls of buildings. Residents accuse police of targeting them in Wednesday's incident, resulting in fatalities. They have been going round to pick both spent shells and live ammunition of what they believe to have been fired from AK-47 assault rifles.
It was just a peaceful demonstration, but they fired into the crowd, targeting unarmed residents. Police assaulted Nana Jasenhene without any provocation. It still baffles me why they fired shots into the crowd. I have picked these live ammunition as evidence of police unprofessional conduct. This is an evidence against their claim they fired only rubber bullets.
The regional command describes the shooting and casualties as unfortunate, while extending condolences to the bereaved families. ASP Juliana Obeng is public relations officer.
If the duty of an institution is to get to a scene like that and then make sure there's absolute calm, there's absolute law and order maintained, and that was achieved, I guess that's it. Let's remember that it wasn't only the police that had gotten into the scene. It wasn't only the police that was detailed to go maintain law and order there. We had a team joining us from the military, and then we had the support of our colleagues from the fire service as well. And so we came as a security force, not the Ghana Police Service, but as a security force of the country to go restore calm and peace at Fuase.
So do you restore peace at the expense of human life? Is it the best?
Not at all. I think that from the onset I have said that it's unfortunate. We continue to extend our condolences to bereaved families. Honestly, I personally didn't expect that we're going to even have increasing numbers as the days go by after this incident. But I'd want to rest it over there. I have said in the past, right from the time I started communicating on this issue, that we are investigating. One, we need to find out what kind of guns or what kind of weapons were even used. Is it not possible that these weapons are not that of the police or are not even that of the military and could rather be coming from other forces from elsewhere, which we probably couldn't see? Or could it also be possible that these were guns that were being used by the citizens of Fuase? And that's why we had initiated investigations into this. All of these questions obviously have come up as a command, and so the need for us to go into it and then find out answers to these questions. So yes, we do not restore peace at the expense of other people. No, if that is what it is, I'm sure by this time we wouldn't have any Ghanaian alive. We wouldn't have at all. But there are issues that you would need to apply a certain level of force as and when needed. Let's again remember that this was not a riotous mob. This was a violent mob. This was a mob that had a fuel scattered all over. These were people who had serious locks blocking roads leading to France and even beyond. These were mobs that had very deadly instruments. These were mobs that had attacked vehicles. These are mobs that had even taken hostage of a DC. And so again, I do not justify what happened, but then it was important that we go there to restore law and order.
No arrest has been made in connection with the shooting incident. ASP Juliana Obin, however, says the command will not shield personnel who will be cited for professional misconduct.
Reviews usually ends up with some kind of recommendations, plus or minus. And so yes, we do have the review. Like I said, it's already actually in progress. If at the
Now, President Akufo-Addo has begun a process to scrutinize his appointees to determine whether or not they are fit to still occupy their office as ministers of state a year in his government. Presidential correspondent Elton Brobe was earlier at the Flagstaff House to observe the process. He now joins me on the telephone. Good evening, Elton. So share with us what you observed at the Flagstaff House today as far as the appraisal was concerned.
Well, Israel, it's been a very long day, right from 8 a.m. up until now. But the interesting thing about today is that all that happened today, none was for the public consumption. Of particular interest to us was the review of performance of sector ministers appointed to serve under the Akufo-Addo administration. Now, between 5 and 8, the meeting ended about 9 minutes ago. Between 5 up until this hour, as I speak to you, 4 ministers made their way into the 4th floor of the Flagstaff House building where the president's office is located. So one after the other, they went in. After an hour, they came out. The first was the Minister for National Security, Kandapa, who went to see the president. Now, what we are being told is that the president took him through some of the targets that were set for him when he was appointed, and then whether or not he's been able to meet some of these targets, more like an appraisal of a sort. Now, details as to whether the president is satisfied or not, those details will come out very shortly. Now, when Mr. Kandapa was done, the Trade and Industry Minister, Alan Chemate, was already waiting in the lobby. He also went in, and after him was the Minister for Regional Reorganization, Amboche, and then just a few minutes ago, the Foreign Affairs Minister, who has been in the House since 2 p.m. because the president had to engage some foreign dignitaries from France, so she came in quite early. The interest, or better still, the missing link in here is that what transpired in the room, we are not privy to it. We are hoping that in the days to follow, we'll get to know the details of what was discussed. But what we've been told is that the president wants to assure himself that the ministers are on track regarding delivering on the promises he made to Ghanaians in the run-up to the 2016 general elections, and whether or not they are on track. And if they are bottlenecks, how best they can resolve it, because for him, this is the year for the people of Ghana or the electorate to see that the promises that he made to them are being fulfilled. So that's what happened today. What we've been told is that this is going to continue for the rest of the day, but we've just been told that the president is scheduled to leave Accra, Ghana, for Abuja, Nigeria tomorrow, and then return hopefully by the end of the week. And then the event itself will continue. Already there's been plans for the president to finish with his ministers this week and then hold a retreat for the ministers and their deputies this particular weekend. Then after that, whatever information that he has, we'll communicate to the ministers and then to the general public.
All right, Elting, was there anything about the body language as they emerged from the office that would suggest how things went, whether it went well or it didn't go too well?
We were held downstairs, so usually we'll have to wait for them to, descend from the fourth floor, the ground floor. And I tried to speak to Mr. Kandapa about what went in there. He had a private discussion with the president, and he was not going to tell me whatever transpired. But he came across normally, not excited, not worried, to put it. But what we've been told that we'll have to wait for official communication. Now, people are speculating that after the review exercise, the president is likely to reshuffle his cabinet or his government to, chart a new path forward in meeting some of the targets that he has set for himself, especially for this year, 2018. So what we are waiting to see is who comes up next, whether it will continue tomorrow, because we are told that President Akufo-Addo will leave tomorrow for Abuja, Nigeria. And then over this weekend, he will meet with the ministers and the deputies for a final lap of this particular exercise, and then the formal communication will follow thereafter.
All right, thank you very much, Elting Brobe, presidential correspondent. We're taking a break. For a look at the headlines here on JoyNews Prime, Member of Parliament for Bogatanga East and former Deputy Attorney General Dominic Ayine challenges the appointment of Martin Amido as Special Prosecutor on grounds that he is past the statutory age for appointment to the public service. Utility providers present their proposals for increases in tariffs. It comes more than a week after a reduction announced by President Akufo-Addo was to have taken effect. In business, Registrar General's Department commences one-stop shop for business registration, but encountered some initial challenges with the system on day one. And Ashanti Region Police promised to deal with officers found to have acted unprofessionally in the deaths of 3 protesters at Fonse.